Today, I thought it would be fun to talk about leadership in the coaching world because I believe that you can create leadership, right? Like people aren't just born to be a leader. I think that leadership is something that we can create and cultivate within ourselves if that's something that we want to be. And to be a coach, one would think you would have to be a leader if you're going to be leading other people. And if you're also going to be a coach who's leading other people, you need to be leading yourself in your own business. So I think if you're going to be a good coach, you need to have leader vibes. And that's what I want to talk about today.
I want to talk about salted nuts versus unsalted. Which is better?
Well, I mean, we all know salted is better, but the healthier option is unsalted.
Yeah. And that comes back to personal values. What do you value most? Healthy food or delicious food?
Yeah,
You know,
I do. I do
it
know.
all comes back to dark chocolate versus milk chocolate.
Actually, you know what I made this afternoon? I made Christmas crack. Have you ever heard of this before? It's like a layer of saltine crackers, like premium plus crackers, with a layer of like toffee and then a layer of melted chocolate. And then you put it in the fridge and let it harden. It's called Christmas crack. I've never made it, but
I've
I
not
might
heard of
have.
that. I have not heard of that.
It's supposed to be
I
really
wonder.
good. But it's
Let me
like
know.
salted. It's like the perfect mix of like salted nuts because you can actually sprinkle nuts on top. I didn't, but it's like salted toffee chocolate.
Let me know how
I
that
will.
is. I'm
I
up to
will.
try anything.
Yeah, I'm
I think I,
excited.
I think I mentioned before last summer I think it was whole wheat or no, multigrain toast
Oh
with
yeah.
with peanut butter,
Yeah.
with banana, with honey and avocado.
Yeah.
It was all of that. Delicious.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm not like a big banana person, but if there was like a bit of banana, I'd be okay with
Here's what I think about leader vibes.
it.
And if you're watching the video edition of the podcast, you'll see that I have a giant tray of unsalted nuts that I'm begrudgingly eating. Anyways, here's what I think about leader vibes.
Hmm.
They're left over from Christmas, these nuts. Anyways, they're profitable, not the nuts, the leader vibes. The leader vibes are profitable. If you want to be a coach who automatically attracts clients, you have to have the essence of a leader about you, I believe.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
I believe.
I believe, yes, you need that, but I think that's something you can cultivate. Do you think
Yeah.
that, do you think that that's just like you're born with it or not? Or do you think you have to like, you can create it? I think it's probably both. I think some people are just naturally born with it or naturally have the vibes, and then others grow into it or create it or cultivate it,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
think it definitely can be cultivated.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's zero doubt in my mind that if a person wants to
Oh, you can 100%.
cultivate a leadership personality,
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Well, I did. I did it.
Boom.
I did it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done.
I don't know
Done.
if I've told this story before, but when I was in corporate, I was told in pretty much every review that I had no presence. The executive
Cold as ice. Jeez, those are cold reviews.
yeah, the executive team told me on multiple occasions that I lacked presence when I
Wow.
was being passed up for like promotions. And but nobody ever, speaking of leader vibes, nobody ever told me how to go about cultivating presence within the firm. So I was kind of left on my own. Like they were like, you have no presence. And so then I was like, okay, well, I was kind of left on my own to figure it out, which I became very interested in studying because, it hurt my feelings when they would tell me that I didn't have presence because I thought I did. So yeah, like I've been on a mission like pretty much the rest of my adult life cultivating presence and learning leadership.
Forged in fire, you are.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's
So
talk
look at
about.
me now. Look at me now.
I know. Look at you now, wearing a Lenny Kravitz giant scarf
In an
and
all day running hoodie.
all day running hoodie. This is the podcast recording attire. I, of course, wearing green shirt, as I'm known to do. Okay, let's talk about the five qualities of a leader. Somebody
Yeah.
who has leader vibes has these five qualities.
Yeah.
Alana wrote this list. I read it and I agree with it.
Yeah.
And I was delighted to be not modest for a moment to say I'm pretty sure I've got all these traits nailed down.
Yeah. I think you do. I think I do too.
I think you do too.
Yeah. I'm feeling, I've got the leader vibes.
You got leader vibes. We got leader vibes here on the No Excuses Coaching Podcast.
Yeah.
Get
Hmm.
some, ladies and
Well, we're
gentlemen.
going to tell you how to get them. The 5
Yeah.
ingredients.
All right. Number one is you got to care, ladies and gents and listeners.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have,
You've got to show some genuine concern. And I think it's important to remember, like, what a coach is and why you got into it and like, what the purpose behind being a coach is all about, right? Like it's to
yeah,
help people change, help people grow, help people figure themselves out. And so in order to do that, you have to care. Like you have to have empathy, you have to listen, you have to support and guide and hold space, right? For these people
yeah,
that you're working with. And if you can't really show that genuine concern, then, well, we were talking about this before we started recording, but like, if the words are not congruent with how that person makes you feel, then it's like a rapport breaker
hmm,
immediately. Like someone could tell you that they care, but if you don't feel it, then
yeah. That's very true. Caring, you must genuinely care about the people that you want to help.
yeah.
And I think, people in general are good about perceiving whether you do or not, right? And
Oh, yeah.
so it's rare, but every now and then, I'll come across a coach who you can just tell they don't care. They're just here because they think it's a way to make money. And like, there's a lot of jobs where that attitude's totally fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, where you just want to produce a product or do a skill and be compensated for it, and it's that basic and foundational, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Coaching is not that type of product. You need to actually care about the people you're serving. It's hyper important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is, I would say, like the backbone of the entire business. Because if you don't care, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
So there we go. So that's quality number one. You want to
Yeah.
have leader vibes in the coaching or hypnotherapy biz. You have to be able to be honest with yourself and say you care about the people you're serving.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Good. So number 2 is you got to be authentic. I think we've had some episodes where we like made fun of this word, I think, or not made fun of the word, but it is true. Like you do need to be true to yourself and your values and be honest and be transparent and be real with your audience, with the people that you're interacting with, like how you're showing up, because people are inspired by authenticity,
Yeah.
right? And it's also easy, like we were talking about that whole like energy is like it's easy to identify when someone isn't being authentic
It
and
is
when they
very,
are, and when they are being authentic too.
yeah.
So just understanding yourself and like how are you living your life and how are you leading yourself and how are you like showing up in the world is going to have a huge impact on your leadership vibes in your business. and when you're working with people.
Yeah. And, this is another one where people can tell, as Elena said, people can tell if you're being authentic or not. If you love what you're doing and you're honest about that. If you are teaching content or advocating processes that you truly believe in, that's a big one, right?
Yeah, major. Yeah. Like if you're a health coach, but you like never drink water or something like that, right? Like,
One of those anti-water health coaches that are running
no,
around these days.
but
Yeah,
that's just like, it's important for you to, walk the talk. Is that what it is? You
yeah,
walk the walk and talk the talk,
yeah,
right? So, like, are you living out your process? Are you, practicing what you preach? Because if you have this ingredient in your leader vibe, then it's going to be so easy for you to sell your coaching because you're going to back it 110%, right? And
yeah,
people won't really need the convincing. Like this is why like organic marketing works so well is if you're hitting all of these like leader vibes, then you shouldn't really have to convince people about what you're selling because you're a living example of it if you are being authentic.
yeah. It's very true. It's very true. The offer that I'm selling right now, that I'm offering right now, um, it is a business training and mentoring
Yeah.
program. And the people that are getting on the calls with me, the enrollment calls, um, it's such a natural, warm, organic process to enroll these folks because the program that I'm teaching is exactly the way I run my business right now. So it's like exactly what people have been watching me do in my business and serving others and putting out free value and stuff and creating a community. That's exactly what the program is. So
Yeah.
it's like it's very easy for them to like look at what I'm doing and say, okay, I like that. I like what he's doing. Clearly it's working for him. And the offer is just come with me. I'll hold your hand and show you how to do exactly what I'm doing. So there's no like convincing, there's no selling, there's no, there's very few like questions that even need to be discussed on these enrollment calls because people already get it by the time they show up on the call. And in order to do that, you need to be authentic. You
Yeah.
must,
Yeah.
right? Like, um, so it's just an interesting example that's coming up
No,
right
I think
now.
that's perfect because like that's why, I think that sales calls are great, but they shouldn't be about, I think the sales call should be about the person that's wanting to purchase and like asking questions and figuring out like if they're a good fit for it rather than you convincing someone to, join your process or join your program or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Hmm.
agreed. Okay.
Okay,
So
cool.
you gotta be caring, you gotta be authentic. Number three is a good one. You must have a visionary attitude. Visionary, you have a clear vision and purpose, you're forward thinking, creative, and strive for excellence. I think
Yeah.
people that have that are the kind of people that others want to work with.
Yeah. Well, because these, like, when you have that visionary mindset, right? It's almost kind of like the mission mindset we were talking about last week. But it's like when you have a vision, like you have clarity, which a lot of people are seeking, right? And you have purpose, which is also something a lot of people are seeking. So that's like an inspiring, motivating quality that other people want to like be around, right? Like they want to be in that type of energy um, because you're thinking outside of the box. Maybe you're also thinking about possibilities. So it's a nice energy to be around because they're not going to feel judged by you necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have those leader vibes, you're getting on calls with people and coaching them through things and you're letting them dream big. You're letting them like use their imagination and you're not like being critical or judgmental or squashing their dreams. You're letting them wonder,
Yeah.
right? Which is a
Yeah.
great quality to have. And it's something that often they're surprised by, right? Because often their peers or their parents or their colleagues are like, oh, you can't do that because of XYZ, right? But you get on a call with a coach who has the leader vibes and they're like, oh, wow, you're listening to me and it's inspiring and it's exciting. And like they feel like they're full of possibility all of a sudden.
Yeah, very true. Very
Yeah.
true. And it's just I mean, it's just empowering to work with somebody who has a strong vision for themselves, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because they're demonstrating at any given moment what it means to, you know, have a goal and move towards that goal and have a vision and know the direction that you're going, right? If you're going to work with somebody who's helping you achieve your goals, you want to know that they're an expert at achieving their goals, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's number three. The consummate professional, Lana Banks, is wrestling with a cat on the other side of the Zoom call right now and laughing hysterically at the same time.
I just like I can't because like we just got a puppy and so like she doesn't come out much these days. So it's just like when she wants attention, I need to give it to her.
Hey, I'm not objecting. I'm just describing what I'm seeing so that the audience can experience it as well at the same time. I encourage you to play with that cat.
Okay. Number 4 on the list.
Number four is being empowering.
Hmm.
Being empowering. You have a collaborative and inclusive approach to working. You trust and believe in yourself and the people you work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like the opposite of being viciously independent, right?
Yeah.
A lot of newer coaches, you know, are hyper reluctant to delegate and don't want to let go of control of anything going on. Um, there's a lot of different reasons for that, but usually it's not a great thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to those eyes on that cat. Wow, they're like googly eyes. Um, there's a few different components to being empowering and to being empowered, and part of it is trusting yourself. Part of it is trusting that you can delegate certain things to other people. Part of it is trusting your clients to take action, you know, without your direct supervision sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All kinds of things like that. So empowered and empowering others,
Yeah. And I think
right?
the key bit to this too is really like believing in the people that you're working with. Because if you're in a coaching relationship with someone and you don't believe in them, then that is going to have negative consequences in your like relationship and their ability to achieve whatever it is that they want, right?
Yeah,
Like you need to be like really good at believing in them, and that's going to start with believing in yourself, right? Believing in trusting yourself and believing in your coaching and your abilities is going to instill trust and belief in your client.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agreed. That's a good one. And that's an important one.
Yeah,
Uh,
super important.
cool. Okay, we got one more.
Yeah, last one.
What's that last one?
Resilience.
Re-
Resilience.
resilience, being resilient. Yeah.
Yeah, or adaptable, right? Like adapting to, I don't know, is resilience and adapting the exact same thing? Or
I don't think they're the exact same thing, but I think they're connected.
yeah, totally connected. But it's really, like you can pivot, you can adapt to challenging circumstances, you can adapt to setbacks, you can adapt to like this makes me think of you're on a call with someone, but you're bringing all of your resources together and thinking like, oh, I can like offer this thing and that thing. And, it's not necessarily part of like a blueprint or something that you're always following. Like you can kind of like problem solve. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I was doing my master NLP training or when I finished it, Ro actually, she said to me, oh, so now you've learned to cook. And I was like, oh, that's such a good analogy. Because it's like NLP practitioner training, right? Is all about kind of like learning a bunch of techniques. And then the master one is like mastering those techniques, but then, having the resilience, I guess, or like learning how to cook, right? Like learning how to piece it all together. And
Yeah. The when I think about resilient and the importance of being resilient in a coaching role, it's that like your clients may not always yet be super resilient and they need you to be, right?
yeah,
If they're facing challenges that are stirring them,
yeah,
you need to be unstirred, right?
yes, yeah,
And even, these days, most of my clients are business owners, which you would think, you to be a business owner, you got to have a certain degree of self-esteem and, and they all do. But like, you never know what sort of emotional turbulence or emotional challenge will present itself on a seemingly innocuous coaching call, right? And
oh
so
yeah,
even to be a
totally,
business coach, you're routinely going to see people break down in tears under the stress of running a business. You're routinely going to see people, who are having a really hard time in a given moment, even if yesterday was great and tomorrow's going to be great, but today is not, right?
hmm,
And you need to stand firm and be a rock in support of that person, right?
totally, yeah,
Even considering that things go up and down in your life too. And that's part of being resilient, you know?
yeah, that is. And I think too, it's the ability to have difficult conversations with your clients too, because I think sometimes there's this tendency because the first ingredient is caring, right? So if you have genuine care and empathy about someone, there is this tendency to like please or people please and like, let them feel good and let everything be comfortable, right? But this resilience piece also, when you're in the leader vibes, allows you to have these difficult conversations where it's like, that they want to go in this direction, but in your heart, that it would be better if they went in that direction. But as your job, it's not your job to tell them where to go either. So you kind of have to have this like very tough love type of conversation with clients too, and be able to like hold it steady and not be judgmental and not be too people pleasy, right? But lead them to making the decision that is probably going to be in their best interest.
Yeah.
That's a real interesting line to go down.
Yeah.
Actually, I did this week. I was in a breakthrough with someone, and like I wanted to go, like I knew they wanted to go in this direction, but I was like, we got to go over here, and it was tough, right? Like it was like I got off the call, and I was like, whew,
Cool.
right? Because you just
Yeah.
feel like you're treading water, or for an hour, and then. But the thing is they will remember that because that's leader vibes right
Yeah.
there, right? That's why they're spending the money to work with you, is not to get the answer that all their friends are giving them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Good point.
Sometimes you got to give that tough love, and that does require resilience and that emotional regulation that you're talking about too.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
That's a really good example. That's a really good example. Cool. All
Yeah,
right.
so there we go. The
Five
five
things.
things that you need to have leader vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's a barrier between you and one or more of these characteristics, I suggest you talk to Alana Banks about a breakthrough, an NLP.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, because here's the secret, folks, in my opinion. It's that everybody has the capacity to be caring, authentic, to be a visionary, to be empowering of themselves and others, and to be resilient. These are sort of inbuilt or from birth characteristics. It's the
Yeah.
events of our life that kind of build barriers between us and these qualities. And so, an NLP breakthrough process like the one that Alana Banks is making available now can remove those barriers between you and these otherwise inbuilt characteristics. So think about that, folks, and maybe shoot Alana a DM to inquire further.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm also going to be hosting a workshop in February, probably mid-February, all about becoming the confident coach, and how to create your self-image to have leader vibes, actually.
There
So,
you go.
if a breakthrough isn't something that you're like totally on board with just yet, come to my workshop. It'll be a 2-hour workshop where we workshop your self image. So you're actually going to come up with your terms and conditions, like what you're available for, what you're not available for. And this is a really great checklist because I think we actually talked about this maybe last week, but like it's a really great checklist to live by and like make decisions by and all that kind of stuff. Because if it's not jiving with your image, then it's a no.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It gives you a ton of clarity and great vision and purpose too.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah. So look out for that. I'll be sharing it
Yeah.
on my socials, Facebook and Atalanta Banks Coaching.
Cool. Yeah. I remember the original kind of workshop that
Yeah.
this evolved from, and it was exceptional. So, with another little massive amount of evolution, this next one I'm sure is going to be absolutely
Yeah, it's going to be
unreal.
awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember after doing that workshop, one of the women from the group, uh, she like did a whole photo shoot and like updated all of her social media stuff. And I remember her
Cool.
messaging me after. She was just like, I was so inspired.
Awesome. Cool. Love that.
Yeah,
All right. That's going to be it
that's going to
for
be
this
it.
one. So yeah, join the Simple Social Sanctuary if you want social media help from me. Make
Yeah.
sure you're in my free Facebook group, which is called Mission and Movement. If you can't find it, just shoot me a DM. There's a link to it in my link tree there on Instagram at Ryan Montes NLP. And that's it for now.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye everyone.